Yeah, I'm ready. Great.
Hi, Gauri, how are you?
Hi, Arif. How are you? It's so wonderful
I'm
to
good.
see you.
Yeah,
The last time
like
I saw you before Freedom at Midnight was in Gardish Mein Hai Tare. Lovely
yes,
performance.
yes,
It was at Delhi. It was at
yes,
the
yes.
Sahitya Aaj Tak. Wonderful performance.
Thank you.
So many congratulations, Arif. It's such a difficult role and you really nailed it, especially the cough. And I wonder if you came away with a permanent cough after that. But really, it's such a difficult role to play. Uh, he for so many of us, he embodies everything that was wrong with partition, and yet to
Yeah.
play him with a certain sense of empathy, is quite remarkable. So I wanted to ask you straight away, what was the kind of prep that you did for Jinnah? Because, there's been Ali Padamsi's Jinnah and Gandhi, there's Christopher Lee's Jinnah. Uh, what did you do to make your Jinnah your own?
So I was actually offered Jinnah's part by Mr. Benegal a few years ago for one of his TV
Oh,
shows, but it didn't
acha.
work out. Then again, Mr. Benegal offered me Jinnah in Bangna Bandhu, the biopic which he made on
Right.
Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. But I couldn't
Sheikh
do it for
Mujibur.
some reason because they wanted to shoot in a certain time and then he fell ill and got pushed back. So then I had done a little bit of reading and research just to prep for those roles. But once this came through, and this was more expansive and more in depth as opposed to the other offers of Jinnah. What prep did I do? See, we live in times of Google, everything is available online, material is available online. So there were a few select videos of Jinnah. And I knew he was erudite, he spoke English, he had a difficult time trying to adjust to Hindi and Urdu. So I tried to keep that little accented. So I made these 8, 10 character points, and then I tried to work around those. For instance, the most obvious which I did, of course, losing weight and all is a very fancy term which actors use. So fortunately, I was on the leaner side. That's why I joke with Nikhil. I think he casted me because I was thin. Because for Jinnah and Gandhi, the you have to be thin, otherwise you can't really convey what the image of people have. But I did subtle work as an actor. Like, the way he speaks, I thought because he was so domineering and he was full of himself, and perhaps what he thought was true, he kind of conveyed that to the audience. I kept it like a bark. So he wouldn't speak normally, he will give an order. So I tried to keep these subtle things, smoking, his physical frailty, because he was aware that he's mortality is in his
Right.
face and he had TB and his lung had collapsed. So he had these bouts of breathlessness. Luckily, my English is reasonably good, so is my Hindi. So I could kind of juxtapose both of them as the demands of the script was. And giving him much more gravitas came easily because it was written in such a way. See, you have to be supported by good writing for all this to shine through. Otherwise, it doesn't help. So fortunately, Nikhil and his writer's room had worked well on the script, worked well on the nuances of the character, worked well on some pauses, worked well on the dialogues, especially between me and Liaquat, where Liaquat is his bouncing board. He kind of orders people around through Liaquat. And likewise with Fatima's role. So all that was well written in the script. One had to just absorb and use these 8 or 10 plot points or character points and see where I could use them as I went along. So, and the costumes were very well done, and the art direction was incredibly well done. I had handkerchiefs with my initial, I had lighters, cigar lighters with my initial, I had nightgowns which had my initial. So they kind of psychologically help you when you get
Right.
into on set and you know how you use that as opposed to just rehearsing in a air conditioned room.
Yeah.
So all these
Right.
subtle things, including my prep, including what was offered to me, they helped in making it more believable, I think.
Did you hesitate to take the role?
Good question. No, not really. I mean, it's a complex, layered, as we all know, Jinnah is famously infamous and infamously famous for whatever reason. So I thought the challenge lies therein. I didn't have an iota of hesitation in accepting the part for whatever reasons, as you might, from where your question comes from. But no, I thought it'll be fun, honestly, playing a complex, ambiguous man who has such a large reputation as a person, a reputation about his ideology, especially to us Indians. So I thought it'll be challenging. Why not? I mean, as an actor, you look for these challenges.
Yeah.
Why play safe and tread on the shores when you're getting a chance, an opportunity like this?
My question actually comes from obviously your identity, because not only are you Muslim, but you also come from a very famous family. And like Abul Kalam, Maulana Abul, your family chose to stay and didn't go to Pakistan. I assume they had a choice, like a lot of people did. So, did that in any way inform or contribute to how you were approaching the role?
Not really.
Because
I've never heard any.
you must have heard from your family, what was going on in their minds at that time in 45, 46, 47.
I have a faint recollection, but I don't think the choice was ever discussed that openly by my late father or my grandfather or grandparents.
Uncle, yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't. I've never been a party or been aware of any discussion had about this choice. I don't think they just stayed back because they were born here. And I come from,
right.
my mother is in fact a Parsi from South Bombay.
Okay.
My father
So
was a
you have
Muslim
lots
who,
of similarities with Jinnah.
yeah, no, Jinnah was married to a Parsi. There's a
Yeah, I know.
difference.
That's what yeah,
Yeah.
that's the,
So my father came from Konkan. So they never had this debate or discussion at all that something like that happened and we chose something. My uncle, Dr. Arif Zakaria, was a member of parliament. They
right.
never had this discussion. I was never a party or a witness to this conversation. I just grew up. This is my land. I was born in Bombay. I'm staying here. And that's the long and
Yeah.
short of it. So because it didn't happen, it was never there in my subconscious. It never kind of affected me at all while choosing this role. It's just another complicated, intense, strong character which I was fortunate to be able to play. If I have to simplify it,
Yeah. And what have the reactions been? Because it really is. I mean, we know Sardar, we know Nehru, we know Gandhi, and one of the more interesting parts of this first season is the
yeah,
relationship between Nehru and Patel, which is contrary to all this rubbish that goes on right now that, oh, they were competitors. They may have been competitors, but before that, they were brothers. But what is very interesting about your role is that it's these three against you in a way, and that fantastic line that you've chosen your leader. Now, this leader will choose his
yes,
people.
people. It's a classic
Uh,
line. Yeah, they're well written by. Yeah,
it's a it just sets up the season and your character. So your character is really I would hesitate to call him a villain. He's really the anti-hero against these
yeah.
three heroes. So you really dominate this season. I mean, it must have been so delightful also to get such a meaty part, right? And the
Yeah, it was
reactions
delight.
must have
And see, also, I think by and large in India, people haven't had the opportunity of watching Jinnah on screen. Nehru, a lot of
been
actors have
exactly.
played.
Yeah.
Gandhi, so many actors have played. So is the case, I think, with Sardar Patel. But
Yeah,
I
with
think,
Nehru
so,
also to a great extent, we
yeah,
saw him in
yeah,
Rocket Boys also.
true. So first and foremost, the reaction has been very positive with my character. Nobody has come out with saying anything negative. So I think people are also surprised with the fact that, oh, there's somebody playing Jinnah with a meatier depth, with much more gravitas than what perhaps we've seen. I'm sure in films
Yeah,
and other shows, Jinnah comes as a villain, one scene, two scene disappears. But here, there is a certain platform given to
yeah,
him in the writing and in the story, which helps him propound his ideology. So first is that physicality they connect. Oh, you could look like him. I think he looked like you. So all these reactions have been coming. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know how you take it in the larger context of the show. So it's been positive, I think. everybody has talked within the framework of the character, within the framework of the performance, as opposed to anything else. So, which is good. And as you said, you haven't used the word villain, but many who responded thinks he's like the main antagonist to
Yeah, he's the
Nehru.
anti-hero. Yeah,
Yeah, he's the anti-hero. And
yeah.
the protagonists have a trio. So Gandhi, Nehru, and Jinnah bear the burden of being the protagonist. But
Yeah,
Jinnah in this story is the sole antagonist, him and his cronies.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Did you refer to Alex's performance as well? You must have looked at
I've
it. It was, of
seen,
course, much smaller.
yeah, much smaller. They didn't have him do much, barring a few scenes. Of
Yeah,
course, I've seen Gandhi, and it's a very good film,
right.
undoubtedly. But I
And
don't,
did you see Jinnah, Christopher Lee's interpretation?
no, I haven't seen that movie.
The
I've heard of it, but
Pakistani film. Okay. Yeah.
I haven't been able to see that. So
But it's quite
it's in a,
remarkable. Sorry, go on.
yeah, go on. No, quite remarkable. What?
No, it's quite remarkable. I mean, the most overpowering personality from this season is actually you, right? So it's really a star-making role. So I think you
I
must be
hope so.
very
Fingers
happy.
crossed. Yeah, sometimes that's the nature of the business. Sometimes you get parts which you think are well written and hopefully it'll be effective, but the feedback and response, as you've said, has been pretty overwhelming even for me. So I'm absorbing it. Let's see what doors and avenues it opens up. Let's see.
Have you got calls saying, "Oh my God, where were you all this while?"
No,
Or
I've been around in the business, so people who know me. I've hung around in the business.
I know,
But
I know that,
yeah,
but sometimes it takes a particular moment
yeah.
in a person's career to sort of give you that extra little push. It happens. It can come at any point in an actor's career.
It can. Like, I remember this saying which Voltaire had for the Russian Revolution that nothing happens for a century, then a decade happens in a week. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So it's just new. I mean, it's just been on air since 3, 4 days, but the reaction online and people, friends, and family, and even peers who watched it have responded very positively. So, but the burden also is now how do we place him elsewhere? Sometimes it's a
Exactly.
blessing. Yeah, you know how it is. So then my own sense of myself comes into being. Oh, I've done a major part and it's been appreciated. So what do I do next?
Yeah.
Because your passion guides you. And sometimes, like, that's my calling card. My passion has guided me. That's how I got into acting. So I say, when I got into acting on television many years ago, the profession chose me. I got into it accidentally. It chose me as opposed to me choosing the profession and making a conscious effort. That's how it started when I
How
was
did
a student.
how did you how did you get into it?
So I was a student in Sydenham College in Mumbai.
Huh.
I was studying to become a
Mumbai.
lawyer. Yeah, and then when I was in the SYBCom, I did a TV show in Doordarshan called Chunauti. I don't know whether you remember it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, of course, of course.
So we were all
I'm
students
older
who.
than you, Arif, so I
No,
remember.
I know, but much has happened by then. You know how our memory
Of
gets
course. Yeah,
diluted. So I got selected because I went with my theatre group and did a series of auditions for a lark in SYBCom in the holidays, and they chose us. And that opened up doors. It was fortunately very popular. Then I started
right.
doing television on a big scale. And I accidentally stumbled upon it because I had met the writer in a conversation sitting next to him, and he said, "Arey, you're doing plays in college. Why don't you meet this producer who's making
Right,
a show?" So you know how
right.
things opened up. Kalpana Lajmi gave me my first film, Darmiyaan,
Yeah.
if you remember. So
Darmiyaan,
fast.
what a film and what a role
Yeah.
again, right?
Yes. That also happened. I did a TV show with her, and there was somebody else playing the main role. She cast me in a one scene part, and for some reason, the main role fortunately came to my. She said, "No, no, you do it." And she went through a year of casting and changing. And she said, "No, I'll cast you because I like your work in the TV show which we've done." I did a TV show with him on
Right,
Star Plus called Dawn in English with Bhupen Hazarika.
right.
So that's how doors had opened up. Dance Like a Man I did with Shobna. I don't know how to do Bharatnatyam, but Pamela Rooks, who passed away again, she cast me after watching my performance in Darmiyaan. That's how things have happened.
Happened,
So,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So my journey has been like that. So, I'm hoping even this snowballs into something memorable and big. But, you got to
Yeah.
be calm. When things go good, keep calm. I think when things are
Yeah.
not going, you got to, because, it's a bubble, as we all know how the
Yeah.
business works. So it's good. I'm
And how
happy that,
yeah. And
In
how
Paris,
difficult it is, right? I mean, it's such a difficult career because, I mean, you can be the best, but you need somebody to recognize that, right? You're dependent on other people.
yeah, it's a very difficult. I would use the word even brutal because
Yeah,
the you
very
have to
brutal,
be,
very cruel.
as you know, you've written about films, and you have to
Yeah.
have a huge dollop of luck and fortune to keep you egging on all the time, because and then you have to be at the right place at the right time. Many factors are really which count for what you make out of your career. What you say no sometimes shapes you. What you say yes to perhaps shapes you more. So it's very tricky.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
very tricky for all the actors.
Have you said no to things that later you thought, oh, I wish I had done that?
A few, but I've also said yes to a lot of things. People say, why did you do this role? Sometimes you connect with the directors. So it's
Like,
the other way around.
like,
Many instances all my life without naming names and without naming people. So what you say yes to, in fact, shapes you more than what you say no to.
right.
Because
Yeah,
and it's fickle. Nothing works. If it works,
yeah.
you shine out. If it doesn't work, because freedom has been now in the news and it's worked. All the elements in the story have worked. We're having
Oh,
this conversation.
yes.
So.
And how fantastic it is, and there's some parts where you're just so poker faced. I don't know whether to laugh or to, like that first scene when you're waiting for the lift,
Yeah, yeah.
we should have taken the
Because,
stairs.
yeah, that is also thanks to Nikhil's direction. He wanted me to play it very poker. He said, don't react much, just have
Right.
disdain for the other. Because, I thought Jinnah always thought himself to be superior. He looked
Yeah,
down
yeah, and
upon.
yeah, and you look so disdainfully at Liaquat and Suravardi, like who are these people,
No,
you
I'm
know,
glad you noticed. That was very I'm glad you brought that up because he had this superiority about himself.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
he had this little chip. He was Western
yeah.
educated. He was a lawyer. He had a certain, he used to be in the Mumbai high society circle. So anyone who
Yeah.
didn't come with that polish, I suspect, looked down upon them and thought of themselves to be a little lower.
And then
I
you have
assume.
Nehru who looks down upon you. So, I mean, that really hurts. And you can see that, he's seething when he sees this guy and says, he's
And
this Peter Pan.
he Peter Pan. So I think Jinnah had a deep hate for Nehru because Nehru came out of a polished, more protected
Privileged.
background,
Yeah.
privileged.
So
And
privileged.
Jinnah was
Yeah.
self-made. If you know the history, he
Yeah.
built his house in Bombay, which is now dilapidated. He built his practice on his own steam, apparently, whatever I've read. So he
Exactly.
carried that self-made man
Yeah.
chip on his shoulder.
Right. And here is this man who comes from Cambridge and so much wealth, and and
There you
he
go.
says also he didn't even go to Oxford and Cambridge, and Sardar looks so hurt. So I loved all that. So I was just wondering, when you were playing Jinnah, did you also see some of the other interactions, or were you all in very separate spaces, and you didn't know what was going on with the others?
So we used to read. I've read scenes with all the actors much before the shoot.
Acha.
So I've read it with Nehru, I've read it with Sardar. Then we had one big reading where even Mountbatten and all the other characters were there. So you kind of get used to the tone of the other characters. So I was pretty much aware what each one
What was going on?
sounds,
Yeah.
yeah, sounds like, what they bring to the table. So I was aware. It helps you if you're conscious as to what the other person is performing. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the surprise element is good. You know, when you act with strangers, it's better because then they introduce themselves in a certain way, which is nice. You're not used to what they're going to do, so it works both
Right.
ways. But here we had a very open process where we had these match readings. We read amongst ourselves, like Fatima and I, Ira, the actress. We had readings. She used to come to my house and we used to read our scenes and try and incorporate something which we could. So little things, help with Liaquat, me, and Fatima.
Right, right. But and of course your disdain, not your disdain, but your envy for for Gandhi especially, right? And in that scene where Gandhi and you are together and they choose him,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
again you look so. I mean, you're disappointed. You know that these people are edging you out, right?
right. So that
So
comes in the
there's that
seventh episode
sense of empathy that the audience has for you, which is, I think, quite surprising because we are meant to feel hatred for Jinnah, right?
for Jim.
And to say that
But
you sympathize with him is heresy. But
I know,
still,
but between all that, he was still, I guess, the writing portrayed him as a human being with all his
yeah,
flaws. We all are, with
yeah,
all our flaws. Whether the larger philosophy is flawed, whether interpersonal relationships are flawed. So I think surprisingly that comes through with Jinnah's character. I'm assuming
yeah,
that's what you
yeah,
observe.
it does. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You feel
So
you feel almost bad for him. This man is creating this monstrous state out of nothing, and you
yeah.
know, but you feel that at some point he has been rejected, and the poor little boy syndrome.
So see, that is the writing and the way
The way
they've
you
covered as
portrayed it, also, Arif. Let's give it to you.
yeah, yeah. Thanks. No, it helps, but somewhere it has to be written somewhere for you to snowball it to something slightly larger. I think so. They had that
So why? Yeah,
frailty,
yeah,
and they had that
yeah,
little vulnerability, and his, the despair, his sadness when in the Nagpur session when he walks off and he says, "Ke tumne
yeah,
apna leader dhoond liya, ye apne log dhoond
yeah.
lega." The camera lingers on his eyes, and his illness complements perhaps the vulnerability. So a lot of factors work, I guess. So I'm glad we're having this. You really watched it with a lot of with a hawk's eye, which is good.
Oh, yes, I loved it. This is my kind of series. I enjoyed every
Yeah,
minute of
yeah.
it. But what is the one thing that you took away from playing this man, whom we have understood to be this diabolical man who sort of, created this state whereas we could have been happily living together?
See, I don't have a great political, ideological takeaway from it. It was a character. It was complex. It was. I added those little dimensions as I mentioned earlier, and now I'm done with it. So I don't have a great resonance as to what his ideology was and whether I succumb to it. It's not necessary. Like I've played bad men on screen. I don't carry that. I've played a eunuch in Darmiyaan. I played a dancer. I've played, Vikram Bhatt cast me as a villain in Haunted. So I don't, it's like asking Ravana, what did you carry back after
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
the role of Ram? But Jinnah, you always have that one additional question, as you rightly put. So there's nothing I carried. I'm happy I could do it effectively, and I'm happy we're having this conversation because somewhere the performance carried through, and that's all that matters, not the larger ideology of that
right.
character. Now, since I'm out of it,
Yeah. I wonder what your cousin says about this. Farid, has he watched it?
I don't think he's watched it, but if he watched, because
You
they're in the US, although he's in Mumbai right now, but I don't know. I haven't got any reaction as to how he'll react.
you
God knows.
better ask him to watch it and give you feedback and
He's
interview
busy
you
trying
on
to. I think
CNN
I
on
think he's busy analyzing Trump right now, so I'm letting him be.
right. Great. And I see that you've just voted, so well done.
I
Let's
have,
see
yeah.
who wins the
My
election.
brother is
But
standing from here. My brother is standing for my constituency, so he's
really,
yeah. Asif Zakaria, he's
which
standing right
which
now
which
from the Congress,
party?
from the
From the
NDA.
Congress. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So see, that's your political family for you. So there
But
you
I
go.
don't do anything. I just vote and I come back. I don't have any hand in his campaign also.
Which is your favorite partition or independence film, Arif? Mine is Garam Hawa. Which is yours?
I would rate Garam Hawa and Tamas first and second.
Tamas. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Garam Hawa is
Wonderful, right?
all time. The way Garam
Yeah,
Hawa shows it without being too political, I think it stands the test of time. And Tamas was second for its intensity. I really like it too.
right. Great choices. Wonderful, Arif. I hope to meet you in
Thank
person at
you.
some point. Thank you so
Sure,
much.
Pamela.
And I
Thank you.
hope to watch
Thank you.
more of you on stage and certainly in the movies and in TV series. Tell every casting director to now line up outside your door.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you so much, mom. Thank you so.
Thanks.